Welcome back. This is Frederick from Tektronix, and today I'm going to show you a little bit introduction to the MSO5 series, the new one. I'm using a low profile version of this one, who's made for test system, physical, or people who needs enormous amount of channels. This box is meant to be configurable in such a way you can just grow, and it's for rack mount. So one of the things I'm going to show you first is actually some details about this scope I have here today. This scope, the low profile scope, is a 1 gig box. It has 8 analog channels, and each of the analog channels can be turned into 8 digital. So you can have this as 8 analog channels or up to 64 digital. Sampling rate in no matter what is always 6.25 gigasample per channel. So that's 64 channels running digital at 6.25 gigasample. It's 12 bits, the aux input, and there's also an arbitrary function generator included with that, and it's running in a closed Linux. So I'm gonna move over to the next slide, and I'm gonna show you a little bit about that in a minute, how you do this. So you can see I've already started something called eScope, but when I went to this network configuration, when I started the scope, I entered an IP number on the scope. This is the way I control it. This is the way I like it. I think it's fine. So we have the network configuration. I have the IP mask called 10 here, and as soon as it has it, it's simple. It just works. There's also a security key here. So if you have a job where you don't allow other people, even in your private network, to access your instruments, for example, you can set a password for that one. So it's no way for them to enter or mess with your measurement. So we're going back here. I just click this one. I can do it for fun. Then I have 2 of them open. So I'm just going to go through a little bit about the user interface. And if this is new to you, I think you're going to like it. If you already have the scope, you're going to think this is really boring. But I'm going to walk you through this. So we have the file. Here we can recall and save as. There's files utilities where you can mount the drive, which is really nice. There's a shutdown auto set the default. In terms of the save as, there's a few things you can save as, which I like. Screen capture, fine. The waveform, fine. You can now save all the waveforms, I think, you have more than one. You can save the setup. You've always been doing that. But making a report. In a report, you can save a report, being the screenshot and all the measurements result will be in a PDF document, including with what kind of hardware, what kind of firmware version. It's really good when you do a lab. And the third one is called session. I have a lot of people like this one, so I will end my this quick demo looking at how you do that and how you use it. But essentially, it's a kind of a waveform capture, screen capture, everything in one. So when you recall it, it recalls all the waveforms you capture, all the measurement, and you can change something. Or what my customers like to do is continue measuring, because if they hit run and connected everything, if it doesn't look the same, there is an error. There is a undo and redo. There's a utilities. Here we have the input output. We can look at the user preferences. Here some people, we can have inverted colors, and normally screen capture colors are inverted to save ink in that time. The backlight doesn't really do that. Default way of moving overlay was stuck. There's an auto set, and this is probably a good tip. So sometimes you don't want to change their horizontal settings or trigger settings with auto set or acquisition. You just want to have the vertical or horizontal. You change that here, and it leaves the rest of it. There's also a setup where you want to have a resolution or visibility. If you go for the resolution, it's really trying to maximize your signal to the ADC, swing, so you have the most, the best measurement results. In terms of measurement, here is the same thing. You have global per source, nothing here special. Here, the only thing that is a little bit odd is the separation model, where you can have it a spectral only, a spectral or bounded uncorrelated jitter. I will cover this. I got some feedback that people want to have a little bit more deeper insight of what this jitter is all about, and other, right click. So, and then utility, you have input output. I put the IP number here. You You can have a USB port, you can run a socket server, and you can have an aux out as a trigger, reference clock, AFG sync. So that's basically it. Let's put on some signal here and let's see if we can make some measurement and just save it. So I'm starting the AFG. Output on. And maybe we could have a square like this. Maybe we should have a frequency which is a little bit higher. Well, let's put a 1 meg. Enter. Okay, period 1 microsecond. That should be fine. And if I go down here now, I can actually make it a little bit bigger. And you can see this. Probably I need the 50 ohm terminations. My fault. So it looks better. And here you can see I can make it a little bit bigger again. So here, a good example. Oh, it's clipping already. Here's a good example. And now I want to add some noise. Do I go in here, double click this and add noise? Let's say, 20%. No, worse. So what we can do here, this bottom down here is used for zoom, but it's also used for another kind of visual trigger system we have. So I can zoom this one, and I can zoom if I like to look at this part down here. And you can see the, I'm running an 8-bit mod. Let's change that 8-bit mod very simply. I go to manual and reduce the sample rate a little bit so our memory can handle the fast, and you can see it's really nice. And this box, you can change it. You can zoom a little bit. You can zoom this way. Doesn't tell too much. So what you can do with this one, we can also go back to horizontal, make it a little bit shorter here, like this. And I can, if I click this one and right click, double click, I can use the visual trigger. The visual trigger is just to draw a box. So let's say it should be in here, and it should be up here, and it should be in here. So what I'm doing now, I'm triggering on it needs to intersect with this one. It's all depending on edge trigger. It needs to intersect on this one, and it needs to intersect. If I've moved this, oh, that was probably not that good. So move this down here. So yeah, and it's unlimited. In this case, it won't trigger. But as soon as I go down on the spikes, I will now capture the worst of the worst. Now I would like to do a simple measurement. Let's look at rise time and pulse width. So I go for a horizontal, and I make it a little bit longer memory, which is fine. I go to measure, and here we can drag it. We can drag it if you have many channels, and making sure that you measure on that one. So in this one, we can measure rise time and positive pulse width. So I will double click this one. I will double click this one. So we have 2 of these measurements in, and you can see that these are the badges: measurement 1 and measurement 2. I can then click on one of these, and I can show statistics in the badge. Do the same here. Show statistics in the badge. So that gives me a little bit of feeling. I also have the possibility to visually see things like this. So I tend to like histograms. We take the histogram of the rise time, and we do the same for this one. We take a histogram of the fall time. And of course, the standard way we do this is, it's probably not the most, my personal opinion doesn't reflect anybody else, but if you want to see an anomaly in a histogram, it's probably to have a logarithmic scale on this axis here. So I go in here, I configure view, and I have a log X scale settings, which means that I can see the odds ones down here much easier than the ones down here. I do the same over here, configure view, and I go for log, which means I will be able to see the corners here much easier. So the one is 500.8, and in this case, I don't really know why there's 5 nanoseconds here. It could be with the timing of this one. So sometimes it goes in. Doesn't really matter. What I want to do now is I stop this one. I will do 2 things. I will produce a report. I will go to save as. I will do a report, and I will save this one. And we save a report. And it's been successfully PDF. And the second thing I would like to do is save as, and I will save at a session. I will call the save. So I've done a very simple setup. We have the visual trigger. We have all these things we're going to look at. We have my AFG. Everything was set up. I would just go to default setup, and I will now recall what I did. So I go to the file, recall, my session. There's only one, and I do recall. and it will give me the latest. Of course, it cannot save everything, but it will give me the latest acquisition. So this is the latest acquisition, all my triggers condition, and now I can actually add a measurement. I can add amplitude, for example. It gives me that, and I can also do a result table here for the measurement. I can add that as well. Probably not the best place to put it in the top, or yeah, like this. And you can see measurement, rise time, mean, max, standard, population, and now I can just run. So I'm running now. Run. Oh, I thought I was running. Oh, now I'm running again. FG was on. So thank you very much for this very short video. There will be more videos about a little bit how you can dig deeper into details about this, but I really like this scope, and the user interface is absolutely fantastic. Thanks for watching, and I hope you will follow me in the next episode. It was a just very short overview.